Hey everyone! Today I am taking you inside secret training, inside Global Air Force Exchange Programs 2025. A deep dive into how air forces around the world partner, exchange, train together, and build interoperability behind the scenes. Whether you're a military geek or just curious about how allied air forces cooperate, this video will walk through the key features, performance aspects, design meaning structural organizational design elements, and unique selling points of this work. Let's get started! When I first opened secret training, one thing struck me. Does he just tell you what happens in public joint exercises or multinational drills, but aims to pull back the curtain on the institutional, strategic, and sometimes covert mechanisms that make those programs possible? It walks a line between storytelling and technical detail, enough that you can sense the tension in planning and execution, but not so dense that you lose the thread. One of the core strengths is its treatment of interoperability and cultural adaptation. Realizing that two air forces with different languages, doctrines, command chains, and technical standards can't just slot together blindly is central. The book, or documentary, depending on your version, shows how training modules are often customized, aligning communication systems, data links, even how squadron briefs are structured. It gives page-length case studies of when things went wrong. For example, radio misalignment, incompatible encryption protocols, misinterpretation of command orders, and how those were resolved. On the performance side, a major theme is how these exchange programs affect readiness, tactical effectiveness, and resilience under stress. There are chapters devoted to specific stress tests. For instance, what happened when a mixed force sortie encountered an unexpected weather front, or when parts of the allied pair had to divert to emergency landings. It shows metrics, sortie rates, maintenance turnaround times, cross-squadron kill ratios in simulated war games, and attrition or abort rates. These numbers let you see how much overhead there is when forces combine under duress. Another strong component is how the text reveals scalability and modularity. The authors or producers show that many programs are not monolithic. They rebuilt in modular blocks, classroom theory, simulator time, live, flight, joint mission planning, debrief. That way, newer partner nations can start small, for example, simulation, observer status, and gradually expand into full exchange. The secret side often involves embedding liaison officers, intelligence sharing, and even infrastructure sharing hangars, spare parts, shared data links. The design is elegant in that it accommodates incremental integration rather than forcing full assimilation from day one. From a design perspective, in the sense of organizational structure, program architecture, curricula, secret training lays out several recurring design patterns. For example, tiered access. Partners are grouped by trust level. Higher trust partners get deeper integration, shared maintenance, logistics, mission planning, redundant communication paths. Because joint operations are fragile, there's often backup links, translator liaisons, and alternate secure channels. Cross-training of support staff. Not just pilots, but ground engineers, avionics techs, logistics planners, command staff are interchanged to build reciprocal knowledge. Cultural immersion modules. Before technical exchanges begin, many programs require cultural and language training, orientation visits, and scenario exercises in what-if environments so that partner officers understand norms, command culture, safety practices. One of the unique selling points is how it explores the hidden diplomacy of these exchanges. Beyond the obvious benefit of training, the program is a tool of influence and strategic alignment. Countries that host exchange programs often gain leverage, alignment of doctrine, trust in sharing classified systems, and political goodwill. The book, or doc, shows how some countries use these programs to gradually push partner air forces into using certain equipment, standards, or signaling alliances. It doesn't shy away from the fact that sometimes these programs are as much about soft power as they are about tactical proficiency. The narrative also provides comparative case studies, joint programs between USA and various partner nations, European air forces operating with NATO partners, and even less obvious pairings like middle powers cooperating under UN or coalition umbrellas. For each, the author asks, compare challenges, language barriers, logistic complexity, trust in sharing sensitive maintenance data, and alignment of rules of engagement. These case studies make the theory concrete. To keep things accessible to a general audience, the script often interjects pilot anecdotes or day-in-the-life vignettes. For example, a squadron exchange where a newcomer pilot from country A has to adapt to the host nation SPREFLA checklist norms, or a maintenance crew that finds a slightly different torque spec in the partner's aircraft manual. These small stories ground the technical content. Another highlight is the explanation of stress fusion testing, scenarios where allied forces are deliberately pushed into near-failure conditions. System failures, simulated enemy jamming, emergency diversions to test how well the partnership holds under pressure. It shows how redundancies, fallback protocols, and joint debriefing procedures are tested. And the performance metrics from those tests become a goldmine for learning what works and what doesn't. The script does a good job explaining risk mitigation. Because you're mixing sovereign military systems, there's always concern about revealing too much, exposing vulnerabilities, or losing control over shared assets. The authors describe how exchange programs often build in black box constraints, data classification walls, limited compartment access, and audit trails. So, even when partner engineers gain access to sensitive systems, it's often mediated or limited. This balancing act between learning and security is a recurring tension, and one of the most intriguing design constraints in the text. Visually, if this is a documentary, or structurally if a book, the pacing is smart, alternating between technical deep dives and human stories, between success and failure, between strategic context and tactical detail. The transitions are smooth when the narrative shifts from a training base in Europe to a remote outpost in Asia. It often opens with a personal anecdote from a participant in that region, then zooms out to systemic issues. A few potential criticisms or caveats are lightly acknowledged in the work, and any video review should also balance. For instance, some programs featured are older, and the leap to 2025 in the title sometimes tries to stretch projections more than evidence warrants. In a few chapters, the author speculates on how AI autonomous drones or cyber warfare might reshape exchange training, but those forecasts occasionally feel optimistic. Also, there are trade-offs not fully resolved, such as cost versus benefit for smaller air forces wanting to participate. The text sometimes glosses over the political resistance from factions within a host nation that may see foreign exchange programs as compromising sovereignty or favoring certain defense contractors. A viewer might wish for deeper critique around power dynamics, but the script does gesture to those tensions. If you were to translate this into a video, here's how I'd structure the flow with visual cues and pacing. Start with dramatic Barrel jets launching, multinational flags, hangars, pilots meeting, voiceover introducing the secret world of training beyond public exercises. Move into core themes, interoperability, modular program structure, real performance metrics. Interweave pilot and crew anecdotes, read or act short dramatized snippets, dive into case studies. Pick two contrasting partner programs and compare. Show charts or graphs of performance data, for example, 想定列、アボーツミッション、success percentage. Overlay maps showing where exchange programs operate globally. Use split screens or overlays to show standard baseline system versus partner variant, for instance, showing differences in avionics, data link systems. Introduce a stress test simulation sequence, cameras flying in cockpits, close-ups on instrumentation failures, crew calcines under duress. Cut to interviews or voiceovers quoting participants about surprises, mistakes, lessons learned. Discuss the diplomacy angle, how training is also geopolitical tool. And, not end, but near conclusion by summarizing strengths and minor shortcomings and inviting viewer reflection or debate. For voice tone ID, aim for confident but curious, you re-guiding people through complexity without talking down. Use analogies. For example, compare integrating to air forces to merging the software systems with different protocols, or to cultures merging into a common tournament team. Because this subject straddles technical and policy realms, the sweet spot is giving enough detail to satisfy enthusiasts. For example, mentioning specific data link standards, metrics, modular curriculum, while constantly relating it back to what that means on the ground, how pilots, maintenance crews, planners experience it day to day. Keep jargon manageable. When you do mention acronyms or technical terms, E.G, ISR, ROSOT, deconfliction, Protocols. Briefly define or contextualize them for casual viewers. One trick. Use rhetorical questions to keep engagement. What happens when one partner's avionics update clashes with another's data format? Who takes responsibility when something goes wrong mid-mission? How do you test whether the air forces could actually fly side by side in war, not just in exercise? Let those questions guide you into deeper segments. Another selling point is that secret training feels timely. As the world sees shifting alliances, contested airspace, emerging domains, cyber, space, the need for interoperable coalitions is more pressing than ever. So the work isn't just retrospective, it tries to project into 2025. How exchange training will evolve with technological acceleration, budget pressures, geopolitical friction, and evolving threat types. Because of that, the text is strong when it speculates responsibly. For example, exploring how data fusion across partner sensors or shared decision AI might reshape joint sorties, or how future training might include hybrid virtual physical simulators across continents. From a video production standpoint, I'd recommend layering in archival footage, maps, diagrams of training flow, inside cockpit views, cross-section visuals of avionics, data links, and possibly interactive overlays that highlight what changed when this partner joined. Use fade transitions, voiceover pauses for reflection, and short highlight clips of dramatic training moments to maintain viewer energy. In some secret training, Inside Global Air Force Exchange Programs 2025 is a richly layered work that blends technical rigor, strategic insight, and human stories, making it valuable not just for defense watchers, but anyone interested in how behind-the-scenes international cooperation actually works in one of the world's most complex machine systems, the modern Air Force.